Looking at the Rugby World Cup, the Springboks will finally have the opportunity to take to the field as they begin the World Cup trophy defence against Scotland. The venue for this game will be the second largest in France, and that will be played in Marseille. Newzroom Afrika's sports editor Vaylen Kirtley is alongside our sports reporter Yolulwe Qosheoutside outside the stadium.
Thank you very much and welcome to Marseille in France. It is South Africa's opener in Group B. South Africa up against Scotland, favourites for the tournament and defending world champions. Yolulwe, you've been in the city for a little while. You've seen the vibe and it's been amazing because we have noted that there hasn't really felt like a World Cup, and you come outside of the stadium and on game day it's all about rugby.
Yes, thank you so much, Vaylen. Also, just to point out on that, the first 2 days, it didn't feel like it was a World Cup atmosphere happening around Marseille. But yesterday was for the first time the moment where I felt like people have come in from the different countries to supplement the atmosphere here. So many different nations, and a lot of Englishmen have made their presence felt here in Marseille. Argentinians have also made their presence felt. I've seen a lot of Scottish people at the hotel wearing their jerseys proudly so. But between you and I think they're going to be going home with a couple of tears in their eyes. So I hope they don't feel the World Cup spirit like everybody else does tonight.
I happen to be on a train from Toulon to Marseille, which is about 50 minutes from where the stadium is, the Stade Vélodrome, which has got 68,000 capacity stadium. And what was interesting was that even the Scots are quite honest and say that it's going to be an incredibly tough battle and that South Africa certainly are favourites to win this. They are going to bring an incredibly physical battle to the Scots. Will they be up for it? Well, according to Gregor Townsend, there's a lot of cohesion in the team and they're happy to have a scrum half, Ben White, fit. They were worried a little bit about injuries. We know what injuries have done to the Springbok team, although we have put out a fantastic starting 15. But let's hear from the Scottish coach.
And it's a team that deserves to go out there. They've earned the right to start in such an important fixture because of the way they've played and the way they've trained. We've built a lot of cohesion over the last 2 or 3 months by training with certain combinations week after week, and we've seen those benefits of doing that, the transfer in the warm-up games, and now it's about delivering.
So hearing from Gregor Townsend, he is sounding quietly confident, although they are the underdogs. It is going to be a difficult battle. Scotland have looked like a really, really good team, although they haven't beaten us since 2010 in a test match. What do you think we can expect on the pitch? Because after what we saw against New Zealand, everybody has belief that South Africa are just going to literally blow Scotland over.
Yes, very interesting that you use the term underdogs. Captain Jamie Ritchie came out and said he doesn't want that tag. He believes that the Scottish have what it takes to win all of their group games. He says they're a very good team and they don't have to be playing under an underdog tag to motivate them. But you are correct in terms of the injuries. They have the scrum of Ben White back, but George Bourne is out injured for this particular game. So that might be a worry in terms of who can come on for Ben White from the bench. South Africa have no problems talking about the bench. You know our infamous bomb squad. You know, we've got a whole pack of forwards that can come in to supplement what we already have in the starting lineup. And look at what we have compared to their bench. It's going to be a pressure that is unrelenting for the Scottish forwards. I do not think they can be able to hold on for the full 80 minutes. You deal with Eben Elizabeth, you deal with the likes of, you deal with Franco Mostert. After that, there's Arias Neyman coming from the bench. There's more pressure coming from the bench. So for us, what's going to be key is the way that we use our forwards. For the Scottish, they're a team that likes to give the ball a bit of air. Finn Russell at number 10, very similar to our Manie Libbok. More experience, knows what he's doing. He's got that test match experience over Manie Libbok. But Manie Libbok, today is the opportunity for him to come out, show his test rugby prowess, and what bigger stage than, of course, the World Cup.
South Africa have lost both of their opening matches at a Rugby World Cup. 2015, the shock against Japan, and then of course in 2019, and they went on to become the first team to ever lose a pool match and go on to be world champions. Mzondile Stika, South Africa's assistant coach, says that they want to put their record of starting a Rugby World Cup, which you've seen for the last 2 editions, well and truly behind them in France.
to disrespect other teams, but if you look at Scotland, number 5th team in the world currently, you've got Ireland, the best team in the world currently, and you've got us. So all 3 teams are in the top 5 when it comes to the rankings, and it's going to be a tough game, but once again, it's a World Cup, I think the games that we've played in the past against them don't count anymore. If you also look at the results yesterday, like I always say, probably in the top 8 teams in the world rankings. If you're not at your best on a day, you're probably gonna have a long day at the office, So the key thing for us, I think we want to have a positive start.
So lots of fans heading into the Stade Vélodrome, and something that happened last night for the England-Argentina match is we saw one of the main gates still being closed, Yolulwe, up to 45 minutes before kickoff. This is something that made World Rugby and the local organising committee really sit up. They just released a statement saying that they're going to ensure that the fan experience is one that is what you would expect at a Rugby World Cup, because it just wasn't what it was supposed to be. Lots of people on social media coming out to vent their unhappiness, and also, just like we saw at the opening ceremony, their unhappiness perhaps even with politically what's happening in France at the moment. But what World Rugby have said now, following last night's incident where a number of people were kept outside of the stadium, is that in fact they are going to be bringing more volunteers to try and help move the people through, and then of course better announcements in English and French. What have you made of the general, other than the kind of vibe that has really built up, and I think it will continue to build up as the tournament goes, but what have you made of the general organisation of the event?
Vaylen, let me start with what you spoke about earlier about the venue and the gates being closed for a certain amount of time. I was here and watching that unfold. For a while it looked like it was a good atmosphere building up and it was exciting for a moment, but it quickly turned into something that could be potentially dangerous. I had not seen that many people going up the stairs. Apparently, I heard from from the guys who are in Marseille who watched the game, had the privilege of getting inside. He tells me that some people were not even able to go inside and were not able to utilize their tickets. So already that points to there having to be an improvement. Like you say, they are now trying to make sure the fan experience is better, because Vaylen, you can't have that thing of being at a World Cup. A lot of people come to their first World Cup, having their first World Cup experience, and the first game you try to get into, you're not even allowed to get in. You've paid the money, you've got the ticket. So if they can fix that, Vaylen, then everything will be fine, because the locals have been very good. They've embraced the World Cup atmosphere. All of the people wearing different rugby jerseys have been very nice when you speak to them, looking to interact. So I think they deserve the best World Cup experience, Vaylen.
All right, well, let's return to studio. We'll be keeping you updated with what happens in South Africa's opener. It's South Africa up against Scotland, kicking off at 5:45.